Today, on this very windy day in Liverpool, we're going to be making daiquiris. And no, you don't need a blender. Today's the daiquiri episode. So, the daiquiri is a cocktail pretty much everyone will have heard of. It's one of the cocktails with a true household name status to it. And to be honest, it's one of my favourite cocktails. That mix of Cuban rum, lime, and some sweet element is delicious. The blended daiquiris are quite hard for me to get on board with. A lot of the times they're very overly sweetened, overly diluted, and just not really that tasty. So why is the daiquiri one of my favourite cocktails? A really nice rum paired with a lime is one of the best combinations you can get in the cocktail world. The daiquiri takes that and runs with it. It's a really simple cocktail, taking sugar, citrus and rum. That is all you need to make a really tasty cocktail. And for many, the daiquiri is the litmus test of a really good bartender. Is it a really good test? I don't know, but we've all got different daiquiri specs up our sleeve. I'm no different. The daiquiri has been around for over 100 years now. What many people don't know is that although it is a Cuban cocktail created in a town called Daiquiri, no less, it was actually invented by an American. He was there in Cuba after the American invasion of Cuba in the war in 1898. And it was in 1898 that the daiquiri was first created. Bit strange, as to many the daiquiri is a key Cuban cocktail. I know for me, the mojito, the Cuba Libre and the daiquiri are the three main players in terms of Cuban cocktails. So it was a bit strange a few years ago when I realised it was invented by an American. Although the drink is credited with an American inventor, it is worth noting that there is a caveat to it. There was a cocktail around in Cuba at the time called the chanchara, which is very similar to the daiquiri. It uses honey instead of simple syrup, but it's pretty much the same spec. So whether it was a fully original idea by Jennings Cox, I suppose we'll never know. What I will say though is it's a fantastic cocktail, and the classic daiquiri is my go-to pretty much all summer. So instead of me babbling on, let's just get into the first cocktail of today's video. I'm going to be making a classic daiquiri with my preferred spec. The classic daiquiri is a really simple cocktail to make. It's only got 3 ingredients. For me, the only real decision is which rum to use. I know Americans will struggle to get their hands on Havana Club, but for me, it's the go-to for a daiquiri. The Spanish style of rum especially adds this brightness and freshness that you lose from a pot still or a blended rum, in my opinion. I think Havana 3 is by far the best rum for the classic daiquiri, and that's what I'll be using today. The daiquiri is a shaken cocktail, not a blended cocktail, so you're going to need your tins. To that, I'm going to add 22.5 ml of simple syrup. To that, I'm then going to add 30 ml of fresh lime juice. And finally, I'm going to add 60 ml of my Cuban rum. $15 ml shy. Pour. Add ice to your shaker and give this a shake. Strain this into a chilled coupe. I'm going to leave this one ungarnished, but if you want to put a little wheel of lime on, then feel free to do so. And there you have a classic daiquiri. Now, the reason I like this spec is you get slightly more tartness by having the 30 ml of lime juice instead of the 30 ml simple syrup and 30 ml of lime juice. I always like a slight more tart citrus edge to the daiquiri. To me, it's more balanced. It's definitely on the tart side and it is sour, but at the end of the day, a daiquiri is a sour template. It's a really tasty drink. There's not too much going on. It's not a hugely complex drink. You've got all the freshness and the citrus notes coming from the rum. It comes through in this drink a lot. The rum's the main player, and the lime and simple syrup are just there to elevate it. I think outside of the world of tiki, this is probably my favourite rum cocktail. It's so simple to make, it's so quick to make. 3 ingredients shaken together, that tastes so good. If you've not made a classic daiquiri before and you're used to the blended shite, it's time to make a proper daiquiri. And yeah, there's not much more to be said. The classic daiquiri is a classic for a reason. And I am so glad it's been with us for more than 100 years. The next cocktail on the list is packed with just as much history as the classic daiquiri. We're going to be making the Hemingway Daiquiri. It's fair to say Ernest Hemingway got about a bit in his lifetime, and the cocktail world really does love him. From the Death in the Afternoon, one of my favourite absinthe cocktails, to this daiquiri classic. Ernest Hemingway has had a huge influence on the cocktail world, mainly because he loved the drink. This one actually began as a drink known as the Floridita, but as with many cocktails with Ernest Hemingway, he didn't think it was strong enough. So we made it stronger, and now it's a cocktail we all pretend to love. Don't get me wrong, there's definitely some people out there who adore this cocktail. I've never been able to really get on board with it. It has been a while though since I've given it a try, so maybe I'll like it this time. Maybe I'll still think the grapefruit's a tad too bitter, but the spec I'm going to be using today is from Anders Ericsson, which is slightly less grapefruit intense. I'm hoping it's something I'll be able to get on board with. So to start, 7.5 ml or 1/4 ounce of grapefruit juice. To that, we're going to be adding 7.5 ml or 3/4 ounce of Luxardo Maraschino liqueur. Just about. To that, we're going to be adding 10 ml or 1/3 of an ounce of simple syrup. Next, we have 22.5 ml or 3/4 ounce of freshly squeezed lime juice. I feel like any real daiquiri riff should have that lime juice element. Finally, 45 ml of your preferred rum. I'm not going to go with Havana this time, I'm going to change it up. I've actually got this local rum, not too far away from the Isle of Man, called Hoolie. It's a blended rum, yet it's got a really light nose and it reminds me somewhat of the Spanish style of rum. I'm quite interested to see how it works in this cocktail. So 45 ml or 1.5 ounces of your preferred rum. This is from the Outlier Distillery, if I didn't mention. You're then going to add ice to your shaker and give this a shake. Serve this in a chilled coupe glass. And there we have the Hemingway Daiquiri. The one thing that hits me straight away, maybe it's a bit unfair testing it in a Hemingway spec, but that rum from Outlier Distillery, it's got this real, almost rum agricole vegetal note to it. It's got a bit of smoke, it's got a bit of bite to it. So it actually works really well with the grapefruit. Yeah. Do I love it more than the original daiquiri? Maybe not, but it's definitely competing with it. The Anders spec is definitely my preferred out of any Hemingway daiquiri spec that I've ever tried. It's delicious, it's really fresh, really light. It's got a touch of florality, which is coming from the Luxardo Maraschino and the Outlier Rum, the Hoolie Rum. But it's got this underpinned sweetness and obviously the tartness from the lime. Maybe a touch of bitterness still coming through from the grapefruit. Yeah, it's a really nice cocktail actually. Annoyingly, maybe I've been swayed. Give it a go. Play around with the rums and see what works best for you. I really like that combination. It's got a smokiness almost, sort of a mezcal smoke to it. It's really vegetal. It's really nice. Yeah, surprising, wasn't expecting that. the next drink I'm making is definitely a crowd-pleasing drink. Let's make a pineapple daiquiri. It's no secret that pineapple and rum is a combination that works amazingly well. The pina colada is one of the nation's and the world's favourite drinks. Pairing pineapple, coconut and rum in this just fantastic, dreamy cocktail. It works well, it's a guilty pleasure for many, and this cocktail is sort of within the same family. Pairing pineapple, rum and lime to get this tropical, tasty riff on a daiquiri. You see many people get these blended fruity daiquiris, but this one, honestly, out of all the cheesy, guilty pleasure riffs that you see about online, this is one that's worth making because it just works so well. I've seen many specs online that slightly tweak this recipe. I'm going to make what I've always made on this because I really enjoy it and I think it works so well. So to start off, you're going to need 15 ml of simple syrup, to that we're going to add 15 ml of lime juice. Any daiquiri's got to have the lime content in. I'm sorry, you need it in or it's not a daiquiri. Same with rum. I've seen a few daiquiri riffs that use tequila, it's a margarita. I've seen some people use gin instead of rum and call that a daiquiri riff instead of a gimlet. If it's got rum and lime and then a twist, yeah, it's a daiquiri riff to me. If you're using tequila, mezcal or gin, might be a brilliant drink, but it also sounds more like a margarita riff or a gimlet riff. It's confusing. You're going to want 30 ml of fresh pineapple juice. Finally, you're going to add your rum. I'm actually going to go for a split of the base on this one. I'm going to go 30 ml of Havana Club and 30 ml of a Rum Agricole Long. Finally, as the last cocktail had this sort of vegetal smokiness from the Hoolie from Outlier Distillery, I want to try and see if I can recreate that by adding some Rum Agricole into the mix. 30 ml or 1 ounce of your preferred Rum Agricole. Add ice to your shaker and give it a shake. I'm going to serve this in a chilled Nick and Nora. One thing I like to do with this pineapple daiquiri is give it just 1 spray of absinthe on the top. A few sprays. And there you have a pineapple daiquiri. You'll see straight away the fresh pineapple gives this slight foam on top. It looks gorgeous. The anise of the absinthe is so telling. Yeah, this has all the makings for a really nice cocktail. Oh, yeah, it works really well. It's a light cocktail, it's so easy to drink. The lime and simple syrup play wonderfully with both the rums, but what's different is this pineapple and anise from the absinthe really take the drink to the next level in my opinion. I love a pineapple daiquiri. I like my twist on it, especially with the split base here and that touch of absinthe. It gives it an extra flavour note, an extra nuance. Yeah, and it looks gorgeous. Served in that chilled Nick and Nora. The slight hue from the pineapple, the white foam, and that anise from a really nice absinthe. It's quite fitting that after talking about Hemingway this episode, we end with a little spray of absinthe. Well, what an episode on a very windy day in Liverpool. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked it, feel free to drop a like and consider subscribing if you want to see more content in the future. If you'd like to see some daily content from myself, you can always head over to Speakeasy UK, where I'll be posting daily content, some like this, some not like this. And then on Friday, we've got a very special video. I'm taking one of the world's favourite daiquiri riffs, which is normally served, in my opinion, in a very oversweet, diluted manner, and I'm going to try and elevate it. I'm going to be trying to make a fancy strawberry daiquiri. So if that sounds interesting and you maybe want to learn how to pH adjust some strawberry juice, maybe pop along to the channel on Friday to see that one. But until then, it's been an absolute pleasure, and until next time, cheers.